We are live in living color here on the Roll the Tape podcast with manager Marty. Thank you so very much for joining me this evening. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with me, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Welcome to everyone. We're going to talk about the great sport of boxing. And we're going to talk about the business of boxing. How convenient is it for us tonight to discuss both topics? As we already know at this point, if you haven't heard so far, we are going to dive into that as well. And that is the breaking news that was just published on ESPN's website that Terence Crawford signed a 2-fight deal with PBC to fight Errol Spence at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas on July the 29th of 2023. And they're going to get it on, according to reports that literally just start surfacing just about an hour or two ago. And some people have been getting the reports about 15 to 30 minutes ago as we speak. So we're going to talk about that this evening. Of course, we're also going to talk about Crawford versus Jaron Boots Ennis, how that fight was allegedly supposed to materialize. We're going to talk about that. I am referring to content that dropped earlier today from my guy, like family to me, YSM Sports Media, when he did an interview with Bozie Ennis, the father and trainer and good, smart businessman of Jaron Boots Ennis. We're going to dive into that. And we're also going to dive into the controversy that has been circulating around the YouTube boxing community and, of course, with other professional boxers and I think some musicians and other athletes have been chiming in on the controversy between the decision of Devin Haney winning against Lomochencko. We will talk about all of those things this evening. And so I welcome you all right now. Come on in. Come on in. Yes, come on in. Salute to everyone that has acknowledged me in the chat. If this is your first time watching this podcast, I want to tell you I appreciate your viewership and I welcome you as well. We're going to have some fun tonight. If you don't know, on Tuesday evenings and Friday evenings is when we broadcast the Roll the Tape podcast with manager Marty. And so we are here tonight. We're going to discuss these things. We need answers. I know I need answers about a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. And hopefully, before this podcast ends and concludes, we can get answers. Salute to another member of my boxing family, a friend of mine's, D-Town Boxing. He is in the chat. D-Town, I text you the link at any given time. If you want, my brother, you can join the podcast. You know that it's totally up to you. Even if you decide not to, I'm still going to acknowledge you, brother. Thank you for your support and viewership here on the channel. Please go subscribe to D-Town Boxing's channel. Great content. Great content. And he's a straight shooter. He deals with truth. And he deals with facts. And you can't beat facts or truth with nothing else. Yes, indeed, Big Ray. This is another unknown episode because I have several different lives here when it comes to the podcast. But don't worry. As long as the podcasts are fire, as long as the episodes are fire, maybe I should say it like that, not the podcast. As long as the episodes are fire, it makes you want to forget how many episodes we did in the first place. Because I try to make sure each and every time I present myself to you all and my content to you all that I give you all my best. And speaking of best, I have one of my best supporters, another person I deem as a good friend of mine and family member of mine, especially in the boxing world, and that is my guy, Mr. Pragmatic. Salute to you as well, Mr. Prag. He's a member of this channel. Mr. Prag, I missed you on Friday evening. I hope all is well with you, and we are glad to have you, as always, my brother, here tonight. We also got another guest. He's already, he beat me here tonight. I didn't even go live yet, but he beat me here. He's in the green room. I'm going to bring him on very shortly, and that is my guy, BVO Boxing. And he's in the green room. He's in the background. I'm going to bring him on. Haven't seen him in a while, so we always glad to have BVO Boxing come through. Before we do any of that, y'all know what we're going to do because the viewership is exponentially increasing. And so I might as well get it out the way now because we're going to talk about some things this evening. If you're just joining the broadcast, if you're just joining the live version, the replay of this live, should I say, if you're just joining the replay of this live, just a quick recap. We are going to talk about Devin Haney and Lomochencko's controversy with their fight that just happened on Saturday night, where everybody see it that Devin Haney won, and then you got another group of everybody's who believe that Lomochencko got robbed and he actually won. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Terence Crawford versus Jaron Boots Ennis and how that fight allegedly was going to materialize, but we found out new information from the father and trainer of Boots Ennis, my guy from my hometown, good buddy of mine, my main man, Pots and Pans, Mr. Bozie Ennis, who did an interview with YSM Sports Media, who dropped that content of the interview earlier today. And he spilled the beans, which he did the first time he did the interview about that whole BLK Prime situation, but he actually went in depth. And we're going to dive into a little bit of that. And of course, the late breaking news that Terence Crawford signs a 2-fight deal. A 2-fight deal with PBC. Something that I said that he should have done a while ago, if you recall me talking about that. But we're going to talk about it here tonight. I look forward to it. This is going to be a great live. I can feel it right now. The atmosphere. Let me tell you something. The electricity, not electricity. Hear my words very clearly. The electricity in the room. Oh, it's reverberating all across the YouTube boxing community. I feel that we're going to have a great, 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 great show this evening. So I welcome all of you. Thank you for your support and viewership. Even if you are trolling tonight, even if you are a spy, even if you are a hater, even if you have a hidden agenda, and you're on this channel and you're watching it live right now, or if you're watching the replay of this live, if you are a detractor, and all the things that you have said about me in the comment sections and or the chat has been negative, you are included. I want to let you know I welcome you as well. All of you are welcome. Let's just get this out the way right now. Let's get what we always do. when we come onto the podcast twice a week, and that is our customary traditional Town Watch check-in. All right? If this is the first time that you are joining this live broadcast and you don't know what our Town Watch check-in is or how it works, I'm going to give you a very small, brief synopsis of it. Then we're going to move on because we got a good show and we got some great business of boxing and the sport of boxing to unpack tonight. Now, this is how our Town Watch check-in works. Salute the undercard boxing. I see you in the chat. I salute you. Now, this is how it works. Very simple. In the chat, all you have to do, because we encourage participation here, is to type in where you are from or where you are located that you want to represent. Any city, any state, any country, and any island. And I am going to publicly acknowledge you when I see it in the chat. All right? I'll start it off first, and then I'm going to read the comments and or the chat. And I say comments for those that are watching the replay of this live. You can also participate in this as well. And the chat. And there's a reason why I do it before I start. Oh my gosh, I see everybody here. I got y'all in the chat. I want to say the reason why. We see controversy going on right now with Devin Haney and Lomochencko, right? This is one of the main reasons why I do Town Watch check-ins here. I'm going to tell you why. Because when we do Town Watch check-ins, right, we will discover that we all represent different parts of the world, different areas and geographical locations on this earth, this side of heaven, right? But guess what? Even though we represent different geographical locations of where we're from or where we are located today, and or even though we have gone through certain things in our lives, we are all representing some form or fashion of a walk of life. Guess what, y'all? We have one thing in common, and that is the love of the sport of boxing. So with that being said, we get right into it because I see so many locations in the chat, and I'm going to acknowledge them. I got to represent the DFW area, my favorite state in the whole wide world, and that is Texas. By way of Arlington, Mansfield section to be exact, about 15 to 20 minutes from AT&T Stadium to be even more exact, by way of my hometown, the great city of Philadelphia. And I'm not talking about in Mississippi, because there is a Philadelphia in the state of Mississippi. No. I'm talking about in PA, Pennsylvania. Now I've done it. I started it off. Now let's get right into it. Dallas, Texas is in the building. I see you. Salute. New York City is also in the building. I see you. All the way on the West Coast. Los Angeles, LA in the house. Speaking of LA, I was rooting for the Lakers to win. Okay, let's move right along. The Queen City is in the building, like the Queen City be here every week in the building. Who else we got in here? Woo! Midwest in the building. Illinois is here. What else? Who else we got in here? Now, speaking of LA, I was notified that the person that typed in Los Angeles wants me to say Hoover Street. So we represent Hoover Street in LA tonight. We also got Memphis 10 in the building tonight. Who else we got? Midwest is here. Detroit, D-Town is in the building. Well, I know D-Town stands for, dollars, but Detroit is like the D, they call it, right? D-Town in the building. Who else we got here? Come on in. From New York, currently living in the metro area of ATLs in the building. Who else we got in here? Chattanooga, Tennessee is in the building. Woo! St. Martin checking in from the Caribbean island. I see you in the building. Who else we got in here? The Dirty South is in the building. 757. Virginia is also in the building. Who else we got in here? Woo! Kentucky is in the building. Who else we got in here? Oh, I got my cousin in the building. Salute. What's up, Zeke? Love you, cuz. Just got off the phone with my little cousin, too. Maryville, Indiana is definitely in the building. Who else we got in here? Tulsa, Oklahoma is in the building. Who else we got in here? Oh, my homegirl in the building. What's up, Dahlia? I see you. Who else we got in here? I don't want to leave nobody out. Who else we got in here? East Cleveland, Ohio. My guy, BBO Boxing is here. And I told y'all he in the background. I'm about to bring him right on. Kingston, Jamaica is in the building. I already see you. Alaska. We got Cash Crypto in the building all the way from Alaska. Woo! Listen, I told y'all we from all different parts of the world. But one thing that brings us together tonight, and that is the great sport of boxing 910. Wilmington, North Carolina is in the building. Who else we got in here? Come on and check right on in. South Carolina is in the building. Who else we got? Let's go. Let's go. I be saying it in the boxing gym all the time, y'all. I be like, let's go. Where BBO go at? Hold up, we got my man in the back too. Salute to YSM Sports Media. He in the back. I'm about to bring him on. Who else we got in here? JJ. He's also in the back. Hey, JJ, before I bring you on, I don't recognize your name, and I'm not sure if this is your first time on the panel here. Do me a favor, JJ. Please, if you can, show me your face so I can make sure that you are not trolling and that you are a real human person. If you can do that, you can also turn your camera back off once I bring you on, JJ, all right? But definitely show me your face so that I can identify you before I bring you on. Who else we got in here? My man, my guy, my homie, Philly Fight Doctor, representing my city in Philly is here. I see you. Who else we got in here? Woo, a soul glow. You better believe Alaska is in here. You better, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. The education and the entertainment that is produced on this channel reverberates all around the world. You understand? And we don't discriminate from nobody or no part of the building. Just come right on in. Come on in. Yes, we got people all over the world that come and support this channel. And they learn. And I'm telling you something, y'all, before I bring YSM on, he's the one, YSM I'm talking about, he's the one that made me famous, okay? And I'm not really famous, but, you know, every now and then when I go to the supermarket or certain places, people do be coming up to me, recognizing me, and be like, hey, Manager Marty. And I'll be just walking, like I was in Walmart the other day, and I was just in there just, you know, picking up a few things, and somebody was like, Manager Marty? And I, you know, I'm just a regular guy, man. I'm not famous like that. You know, humble guy, man. I turned around and they wanted to take pictures with me and talk to me. And I thought that was real cool. But the man that started it all is the guy I'm about to bring on. And that is YSM Sports Media. So salute to him. Dallas, Texas is in the building. I see you, D-Town. D-Town gonna come on here a little later too, y'all. Let me see. I see you, Carl Brown. Newark, New Jersey is in the building. Brick City. Brick City's here. Who else we got in here? I don't want to forget nobody. I want to make sure I get everybody as much as we can. I said Texas already. Who else? Love you too, cuz. I see you in the chat. Richmond, Virginia is in the building all day. Who else we got in here? Real quick, because I'm about to bring my, hold on. Let me bring my people on. Hey, JJ, I see your chat. I see your, let me see you, JJ. Can you put your camera down, brother? Let me see your face, brother. I want to make sure you good. You keep turning your camera off, JJ. Let me see you, brother. Hey, JJ, I'm trying to let you on, bro. Can you show your picture, bro? Listen, I'll let you on the panel, bro. I just want to make sure that you can always turn your camera back off, JJ, if you just show me your face so I can make sure. Oh, I see you. So you want to do a flash, John. That's cool. I'm going to let you on. Ain't no problem, bro. All right, no problem. Who else we got in here real quick? DMV in the building. Yes, indeed. Shout out to the DMV. Chester, Pennsylvania. We got Chester in the building. Yes, indeed. Who else we got in here? Listen, I just need one more. One more. One more. One more. One more. Somebody, I just need one more. One more so that we can move on with the show. Yes, everybody in the chat, if you're just joining this live broadcast, yes, indeed, I already posted it. I'm going to do it again. That Terence Bud Crawford allegedly signed a 2-fight deal with the PBC, according to sources. Him and Errol Spence Jr. supposedly will be fighting at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas on July the 29th, 2023. We're going to talk about that this evening, but we have to first. Pensacola, Florida is in the building. Texas is in the building. Irvine, California is in the building. Miami, woo, got people from all the way from Miami's in the building. Baltimore, Maryland is in the building. All right, now that we got that out the way, man, let me tell y'all something. Y'all be surprised how many people is actually viewing this live and in living color right now. Denver, Colorado is in the building. Woo, the state of Alabama is here. Listen, y'all, we got people from Baltimore, Virginia, Alabama, Colorado, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Florida, by way of Miami and Pensacola. We got Cleveland, Ohio here. Dallas, Texas is in the building. 757 from is in the. Who else we got? Man, we got everybody is here. And this is what I like to call a family barbecue. And y'all know Manager Marty air fry as the numbers are increasing. When I say exponentially, I mean fast too. I mean real fast. Hold on for a minute. Hold on. Let me see something here. Yeah. And do what they say in the chat too, please. Hit the like button, y'all, because we want this education and entertainment to reverberate not just on YouTube, but all around the world. And the like button helps us do that. All right? Let me do what I need to do first, and that is show my face in the place. I told y'all before when I was growing up, when I was a late teenager, we used to say this all the time to each other. They say drop your location now, right? That's the new term. Drop your location. We used to say, don't be scared to show face when I pull up on you. So you know me, I ain't never scared to show face. I got to show my face first before I bring my guests on. It's only right. It's only right. You know why? Because one thing I know for certain about us as humans, we love human interaction, right? I mean, it's cool if I just showed you a canvas the entire time or a thumbnail the entire time I do my broadcast, right? That'd be cool, right? I know some other people do that, but here on this channel, here with this podcast, we love human interaction, and so there are going to be times and moments where I just publish it, like you just saw it now, my canvas or my thumbnail. But I still want to be able to connect with you all from a humanistic standpoint. I know that we're dragging on and dragging on. I got my guy in the background, Crown Jewel Boxing. I'm about to let everybody on. I'm gonna let everybody on. We're gonna talk boxing tonight. Hey, Crown, I'm gonna say this before Crown Jewel get on, because that's family. He family. I can say this. I saw a few pieces of your recent video, and we don't have to agree on everything, okay? I know who you thought won the fight. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit, brother, but I'm trying to set the mood. We got ladies in the chat. We got everybody here. I love it. I'm going to bring everybody on, starting with my guy. I don't know where BVO go. I don't know if BVO heard that Crown Jewel was coming in. I don't know, but he ain't here. BVO, if you in the chat, come back on. I know D-Town Boxing said he was going to come on later. Everybody, come on through. This is open panel tonight. But first, I got a guy on YSM Sports Media. What's up, Mill?
What's good, Marty?
Oh, man, you always got that tone of low-key, man. I'm good, brother. How you?
I'm all right, man. I haven't yet been able to confirm the news from PBC or Showtime, but
Okay.
from my other sources tell me, it's good to go.
Oh, man, well, if it's good to
I
go, it's
always
good.
like to hear from the parties involved, though. You know what I mean, though?
Yes, absolutely. Because because Mike Coppinger was one of the first to put it out on ESPN and on this channel. And I've said this publicly before. Mike Coppinger isn't as the most credible source from my point of
Mike is
view.
lighting that. Mike is lighting the ass. All right.
Yeah.
He's a colleague, so I'm just gonna keep it in the bean. Mike
Yep.
about 40%. Mike would be a good 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
But
No
but
doubt.
not but this ain't free throw. His shit is not a free throw percentage.
Absolutely. We got my guy, Crown Jewel Boxing here. Before I give y'all this this introduction for Crown Jewel, let me say this live and in living color here. Because I see the numbers are growing. For real. I'm not making this up. Please go subscribe to YSM Sports Media. Please go subscribe to Crown Jewel Boxing. Okay, these guys are really good at what they do. They speak facts, very unbiased, and they know what they're talking about. If I tell you to do it, you know it's real. Cause it's like this Crown Jewel and YSM when we was kids, the cereal box called Kicks. You remember the cereal Kicks? And
Yeah.
it had this slogan that say kid tested, mother
Mother
approved.
approved.
So I'm telling you, YSM Sports Media and Crown Jewel Boxing, they are stamped, they have been tested, and they are approved. Go subscribe to their channel, Crown Jewel Boxing. My guy, what's up with you, my man?
What's good, bro? I'm encouraged. I'm seeing the news on ESPN like everybody else saying July 29th, Terence Crawford, and Errol Spence is official. Like we did disagree, like you said, on the Loma and Devin on the past weekend. I agree with a lot of the people, though. I can't call it a robbery. You know what I mean? It was too close of a fight to be a robbery. 1 or 2 rounds could have went either way. But I just thought the bigger showier headshots, which is normally what guys get most credit for, were landed by Lomochencko. Devin did a lot of good body work early. Sometimes judges give credit for that. Sometimes they don't. But I know like the most clean, effective punches were landed by Loma, so I thought he deserved a nod. But again, not a robbery because the fight was too close to be called a robbery.
Hey, real fast, Crown Jewel. Do you know that you're supposed to give more credit for body punches than you are for headshots?
I don't know the formula, but I know traditionally as somebody that's been in and around the sport since I was 7 years old, that's never been the case. That's never been
That's the case. That's the case for judges. They say you're supposed to give more credit for.
I don't
Wait,
doubt. I
wait.
don't doubt.
I'm gonna explain why.
I work for the Boxing Commission, so I've sat in some of those seminars.
I know, but
I don't doubt that that's the rule. But I'm saying traditionally, if we watch fights, the way they've been judged historically, the guy that lands the bigger, showier punches usually wins the fight. Like I said, I still think it's a very close fight. I wouldn't be mad. I wasn't mad at 115, 113 either way. I ain't mad at a draw. The 116, 112, I had a real problem with that. As Marty hinted at, you know what I mean? You had Dave Moretti, who's the brother of Carl Moretti, who's an executive at Top Rank. At some point, I think it's like his last 3 major fights he's worked, his judging has been deplorable.
Yes.
So, I mean, I can't, like I said, I've never said it's a robbery. And we do know it's up to what you like to see. Just like that's why you got 3 different judges, 3 different scores. Different judges like to see different things. Some reward aggression, some reward clean, effective punching, some reward ring generalship. So there is a curve, not to mention they're sitting on 3 different sides of the ring. And you know from 3 different sides of the ring, you may see 3 different angles of the fight. So there ain't no exact science to judging boxing. They have guidelines to go by. And a lot of times it's left up to what, the judge's discretion a lot of times. But when a guy is landing the cleaner, more effective punching, 9 times out of 10, that's the guy that gets the nod, unless he happens to be on the side that's not as influential. Just my personal.
So my point was the reason why they say you're supposed to score body shots.
Mm-hmm.
Body shots count for more is because it's in a more you're in more danger trying to land a body shot as opposed to a headshot.
Absolutely, you have to take more of a risk. You have to put yourself in more of an offensive or defensive risk when you're reaching for the body. That's correct. I agree with that.
That was something that I didn't know until as of recent. I thought all shots were scored in the same manner.
Yeah.
But I don't think Loma started landing the cleaner shots until the later rounds because a lot of his early work was more showy, more amateur. I'm gonna throw 7, 8 shots, a la uh, Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler, where not a lot of them were landing. Like it would be like gaps of inactivity, 30 seconds where Loma's not doing shit. Then he rings off 6 or 7 punch combination and 2 land, and they don't really have no mustard on them. But because the crowd is pro Lomo, is the Matrix.
Well, I agree with
So,
that, what you just said, but I don't know if it just was the crowd. I think it was the way Devin reacted to a lot of those shots. When Loma landed on Devin, maybe it's his hair, maybe it's his body language, maybe it's him pulling away from the shots, but you've seen it. When Devin was landing on Loma, especially to the body, it just isn't it doesn't give you that all factor. And like I said, I agree, Loma should have worked harder early on. But I do feel like he clearly won the second half of the fight. I have to say Devin won the first half of the fight, but I just think Loma did a little bit more. I think he was a little bit more impactful with his shots. I only think one guy got hurt during the course of the fight. That was Devin. In the 10th round, I think he was clearly hurt. And I think Loma has to be kicking himself because I think he could have at least scored a knockdown had he stepped on the gas in the 10th when he had him going, but he didn't. So, that's a flaw of his because I think he was happy to have just won the round big when he could have really.
But like you said, Crown Jewel, that's something consistent with him because he even said he took off on the 12th because he felt like he had it in the bag. Who the fuck told you that?
That's stupid. It's stupid.
Yeah. Let me do this. Let me set the tone since we're on the topic. But before I do that, let me get my guy, Mr. Pragmatic. Thank you for your contribution to the channel, Mr. Pragmatic. He says support to one of my favorite channels so my friend can keep teaching us about the business of boxing. Mr. Pragmatic, salute to you. Thank you, as always, for your viewership and your support. And speaking of setting the right tone, everybody that's in the chat, at least, and most of you that's watching me live, of course, Crown Jewel Boxing knows this, YSM Sports Media know this, and if you're new to the channel, you will learn this. I am trained as an official, referee, and judge, and I actually am active as an official in USA Boxing. So the same judging criteria that's used in the amateurs, which where it all starts for every professional boxing judge, it's sort of, not all the way, but it's sort of used in the same criteria. But there are more criterias, in amateur boxing because we score based on points system, based on amount of punches landed and those type of things compared to a more condensed, boxing judges criteria. And so what I want to do is set the right tone for everybody. And I want to set the right tone so that we all can be on the same page for what is the judging criteria in the professional ranks. Mm-hmm. And I also want to educate everybody on this. And this is the mentality that judges are supposed to have based on the training through USA Boxing and then being elevated to a licensed professional boxing judge. And that is this. You may never hear this anywhere else. So hear me clearly. Boxing judges, we don't score bouts. We score rounds. Let me say that again. Boxing judges, we don't score bouts. We score rounds. And basically what that means is this. We are trained to have what I like to call short-term memory loss. Why? Because we score based on the performance and or the lack thereof, according to the judging criteria, inside of rounds, right? So basically, if round one happens, and then we basically judge that round, the moment that round two begins, Guess what happens to round 1 in our memory box? It gets deleted. We do record it, obviously, and the professional boxing judges record it on their judging cards or scorecards, as we call it. But at the same time, judges are not trained to say whatever happened in the last round will translate into what's going to happen in this round. That's not how it works. And this is the judging criteria for what happens in each round based on how we judge fights and how we score fights. King Asia Math, I see you in the chat, but I also saw you in the background. If you want to come back on as a guest, you are more than welcome. I didn't get an opportunity to bring you on because you jumped right off. I know you were waiting for a few seconds, but if you want to come back on the panel, feel free. I see you in the chat. If you want to come back on King Asia Math, perfectly fine with me. All right, now, the judging criteria: effective aggression, ring generalship, defense, hard and clean punches. This is the judging criteria that is used per round that judges score. Now, before we get to who we think won and how and why we thought they won, the foundation must be this that's on our screen that we're watching right now. Because this is what the judges should have been basically using as a criteria to score the rounds. This is why when I did my video the other day, I think it was on Sunday when I published the video, I called it a robbery. I wasn't basing it on the entire fight or the outcome or the results of the fight. I was basing it on the rounds when I say robbery, because there were rounds that should have been scored for Lomochencko that was scored for Devin Haney on 1 or 2 of the judges' scorecards. And there were some rounds that should have been scored for Devin Haney that was scored for Lomachencko on 1 or 2 of the judges' scorecards. That was just in my personal observation as a judge. So when I look at each round, from round 1 all the way to round 12, in this fight between Devin Haney and Lomachencko, I was using this judging criteria. And so with that being said, using this judging criteria, I know that Crown Jewel Boxing and YSM Sports Media, who I think he dipped off the live broadcast, and of course YSM Sports Media, you're always welcome to come back anytime you want. But since I have you here, D-Town, not D-Town. Since I have you here, I apologize, Crown Jewel, because I'm looking at trying to read the chat at the same time. I want to ask you, based on the judging criteria, based on what you saw, what was your take from round 1 to round 12? Before I get to that, hold on 1 second, Crown. King Asia Math, I believe this is your first time on the panel. If you can turn your camera on, just so I can make sure that you are who you say you are, just having some kind of human, picture of who you are, I'll definitely bring you on, and then you can turn your camera back off if you please, if you choose to, when I bring you on. But if you can, King Asia, just turn your camera on so I can know it's you, to verify who you are, see some kind of face, and then I'll definitely, definitely let you on. I see a blank spot when you turned your camera. I see a blank spot. So while you getting that together, jumped off. Okay, cool. So while you getting that together, King Asia, Crown Jewel.
Yes, sir.
Round 1 through round 12. In your opinion, how many rounds would you say you give Lomachencko, since you believe that Lomachencko won this fight?
Razor thin. I gave him 7 rounds.
7 rounds. So you gave Loma 7. In essence, that means you gave Haney 5, right?
Exactly.
5 rounds. Now, tell me what you saw from Lomachencko that made you give him 7 rounds over Devin Haney.
there was a few different things I saw. One, Devin Haney, he seemed a lot more sure of himself when you talk about ring generalship. Devin Haney seemed a little befuddled a lot in that fight. He handled when Devin was throwing punches at him a lot better than Devin did, vice versa. We've seen a lot of times where Devin seemed to look out of sorts, out of position, end up bent over, like, kind of eager to grasp and clutch. I think Devin has an identity problem. He usually does a lot of things that I see Tank do stylistically, but it seems this time he came in thinking he was one of the Charlo twins. They may be triplets now, because his fighting style looked very similar to theirs. The haircut, stance, a whole lot. The difference is he's not a puncher. And I think what he runs into a lot of problems stylistically is that he looks to sit down on his punches and fight like a puncher, but he's not really a puncher. I was at one of his early fights at the 2300 Arena years ago, and that was the one time I had an opportunity to speak with him. And at that time, that's what exactly what I told him. Like, embrace who you are, be a boxer. You're a beautiful boxer, but I think he gets caught up in trying to be a puncher, and it usually is not good for him because he's not a big puncher. And so, in him employing that style instead of being a volume guy, if you look at the punch stat numbers, they were very close. Actually, Lomochencko had a slight edge, but Lomochencko's punches were a little showier, had a little more snap on them. And that tends to sway the judges and also someone like myself.
I got you. And here's the thing. The thing I love about boxing is that we don't all have to agree on every little thing.
At all.
And also, what I also like about boxing, and you had brought it up too, there are 3 judges that's sitting around what we like to call the field of play. We call that as officials the field of play. And so there's certain vantage points that one judge might have that another judge may not have. There's certain punches that one judge might see land, but on the other side of the body of that fighter where the other judge is sitting, it might look like that fighter blocked it or slipped it or rolled up under it, right? We've seen this happen all the time.
They can see 3 different fights, that's for sure.
Right? So it's not like we're expecting all 3 judges' scorecards to be exactly identical. But we also understand that they have to go by the judges' criteria.
Absolutely.
So I respect your perspective, and I respect it even more because you have the experience. You train fighters, and you've been in the ring, and you understand from a fighter's perspective, a boxer's perspective, and you still train every now and then, how certain techniques will get you closer to land certain punches. And so for me though, I actually got Devin Haney winning, maybe 8-4, 7-5.
Gotcha.
The other way.
And I can't be mad at that score.
Yeah.
I can't be mad at that.
Yeah.
But I will say, just to qualify, and I'm doing this from now on because I have people coming at me crazy for my opinion online. And one guy actually said, and I never called myself an expert, but he said something like, "Oh, just because you hung around a gym or you sparred a couple times don't make you an expert." So what I will say is, I started boxing at the age of 7. I have over 100 amateur fights. I have 4 professional fights. I've trained fighters. I've managed fighters. I've promoted boxing cards. I worked for the New Jersey State Athletic Commission as an inspector for 5 years. I've sat in officials' seminars. So when people, come on and say, well, how do you know? Or what do you know? Well, I mean, I think I've kind of been involved in pretty much every aspect of the sport that you can be involved in. I'm not saying I'm a major player. I'm not saying I did it on a major level, but I participated in just about every level. And with that being said, if I can have a shameless plug real quick.
Of course.
I can't stay on too long tonight because I'll be flying out first thing in the morning. I'm helping train Anthony Young, who's going to be fighting Alexis Rocha on Saturday in Indio, California, looking to crack that top 5 of the WBO. So, all you guys out there tune into the Zone. I'm working the main event. If you want my credentials, again, watch the Zone on Saturday night. You'll see I'm not just puffing smoke.
I appreciate you coming out, man. We rooting for Andrew Young. No disrespect to Rocha, but you
Yeah,
hometown. So we got to
absolutely.
go with your hometown, brother.
Absolutely, absolutely. My man Chalk, he calls himself Juice, training right out of TKO in Cherry Hill, which I know
That's
you're
right.
with. And yeah, you know what I mean? I want to see the local kid, especially because I'm involved with him. I'm biased, but I want to see the local kid, do well.
Oh yeah, and over at TKO, he just became a promoter not too long ago. That's my guy, my
Yeah,
man
yeah.
Alex
I was at his show this weekend, Saturday night in Atlantic City. I think it was
Barbosa.
the fourth show. Yeah, boy, he
Yep,
put on another great show. Another great
yep.
show. Look out for my guy Cisco Rodriguez, 2-0 as a lightweight right now. I think he kind of stole the show. And my man Saucerito took a tough loss. You'll be back, champ.
Yeah. So yeah, Alex Barbosa, good guy. He knows
Very
me.
good guy. Yep.
He knows me. He's a good guy, and I'm rooting for Alex as well. I've been at a few of his shows. He's going to do good as a promoter. Good
Mm,
guy. Good
very
guy.
good.
And I love doing the amateur shows at his gym. I
Yeah.
love it. Always a packed house.
Yep. I told you we didn't know each other at the time, but we more than likely crossed paths because I had a heavyweight by the name of Rodney Brooks. He was 3-0 as a pro. Decided to go drive trash trucks. That's a whole nother story. But his last amateur fight was at TKO, and you guys, the judges, gave him fighter of the night. So you know what I mean. We I'm pretty sure we crossed paths in there that night.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? The thing about it is, we have people that watch this live or they watch my content and I be just sitting there judging or, at a local show or
Uh-huh.
whether I'm professional or amateur and people still be walking up to me and it'd be like, I just be just working,
Uh,
and then they come, hey man, Jamar, I'm like, yeah, hold on, let me get this round. I got to look at this round first. I got to make
up
sure the
to
right
you,
winner win
right?
now. But yeah, I know you can't stay long, bro. I appreciate you coming on. You know how it is. We family. Anytime you want to come through, Crown, you got it, my brother.
Absolutely. And to everybody out there, keep tuning in to Manager Marty. He's one of the few people that I love to watch, to be educated by. When I come on, he's telling the truth out here. He's speaking from a perspective of experience, which a lot of these YouTubers can't say. So again, continue to listen, look out for Manager Marty, continue to support him. And when you get a little bit of time, don't be too shy to stop past Crown Jewel Boxing TV. Appreciate the platform, Manager Marty. Anytime you invite me on, you know I'm gonna show up.
My guy, you got it, Crown Jewel. Salute to you, my brother.
Salute, my brother. Later.
All right, so that was my guy, Crown Jewel Boxing. The chat is just lighting up on something crazy. I see another member of the channel in the chat, my homegirl, Diana. Salute to you, Queen. Thank you. I see Dahlia in the chat. We got ladies in the chat here, y'all. So I get very, very critical when we see ladies in the chat, right? And what I mean by critical is this. Let's be respectful, men, if we can, by all means. We respect and salute the ladies in the chat. So let's be respectful of certain language that we use. You know what I mean? Because we want to make sure that we always uphold a sense of integrity in the presence of women. All right. With that being said, I have some questions for people that thought Lomachencko won this fight. And I know that Crown Jewel Boxing couldn't stay with us long, so I didn't want to run all the questions down to him and not respect his time. But I do have some questions for people that thought that Lomochencko won this fight. I told y'all before, I believe that Devin Haney did enough to win this fight. And basically what I was doing was basing it on the judging criteria. If you're just joining us live, I published this judging criteria a little bit earlier, but this is how the judges should be scoring rounds. And if you don't know about the scoring or judging criteria, here it is on your screen: effective aggression, ring generalship, defense, hard, clean punches. Okay, these are the criterias. And what I want to do too, right? Since I have the criteria up here, what I want to do is kind of explain a little bit of how the criteria works so that we all can have an understanding. Now remember, this has nothing to do with your opinion on whether or not Devin Haney won or lost. It's just to give you some form of education. So I'm using the controversy as a teachable moment, like basically I always do. And I just want to make sure that, you know, when you watch fights, I'm not asking you to judge fights, but when you watch them, though, you'll have a base, a foundation, uh, so that you know what you're looking at when you're watching fights. Because usually when you're watching something, if you don't know what you're looking at, right, then you can actually miss something. Or what happens most of the time, you can listen to the commentators, right? And then you'll go by with the commentators on a headset, say live on a broadcast, and then all of a sudden you formulate your opinion and your perspective based on that. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that we all have the same outlook, not the same results now. We don't have to agree on everything, but the same outlook moving forward when we watch fights. And I want to say this too. I am not particularly a fan of the ESPN commentation. I hope that's a word. If it's not, I would say commentators. I like Andre Ward. I think he does relatively better than everybody else that does commentating. But overall, as a group, I'm not really a big fan of them. Now, I'm not a hater of them. I respect what they're doing, and I appreciate their own perspectives because, you know, Tim Bradley, he does have experience in the business and in the sport. So you got to have some level of respect for him. Andre Ward as well. These guys are basically Hall of Famers. And Joe Tessitore as well. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. But the point I'm making is that we know this to be a fact. This is not an opinion on what I'm about to say. Most of the times on the ESPN live broadcast, when you hear them commentating, you hear a lot of bias going on for the A side, particularly the A sides that's, you know, on Top Rank, right? That's under the banner of Top Rank Promotions, because of course Top Rank Promotion is the promoter that has the agreement basically with ESPN. So I just don't like when it's bias. You know what I mean? So when I say bias, right? Even thinking about um they had Max Kellerman on the broadcast. I usually don't hear him being an unofficial judge, but they had him on the live broadcast this Saturday night with regards to the fight. And I wasn't really particularly in agreement with, you know, his scorecard, so to speak. And so this is the judging criteria that the professional, licensed, certified judges go by when they're scoring rounds. Remember, if you didn't hear me before, I'm going to say it again. As judges, we don't score bouts, we score rounds, right? Effective aggression, ring generalship defense, and hard, clean punches, right? Those are the criterias. Now, let me kind of go through a little. Well, I'm going to go through each one. I'm not going to go give like a deep rooted answer in all of them. Just a base so that we can all understand what the judges are looking for, right? So let's start with effective aggression, right? So we see fighters advance their opponents all the time. They're being aggressive, right? That's showing that they're trying to dominate, that they are trying to dominate the fight, right? They're trying to let their presence be felt, right? They're trying to dictate uh, the pace of how their opponent is backing up as they are advancing, right? But here's the key thing about aggression that judges look for when we talk about effective. That's the operative word in both of those words, effective aggression. And what is effective? What is effective aggression? It's where that fighter who's being aggressive consistently lands punches, right? And avoid the same punches from the opponent, right? So in other words, is you can't be effectively aggressive if you as a fighter is not landing punches But as you're being aggressive, you keep getting punched in the body, to the head, in the face, right? Or in the scoring zone, as we call it as judges and officials, right? So if you're going to be effective in your aggression, you can't be the one that's getting hit. You can't be the one that's being counter punched, right? You have to land clean shots when you're being effective in your aggression. Now, ring generalship. Who's controlling the action? Who's imposing their will, so to speak? Who's controlling the real estate? That's what ring generalship is. Are you imposing your will as a fighter? Are you imposing your style as a fighter? Do you know where you are in the ring at all times? Right? Are you controlling the real estate? That's ring generalship. Now, we should all know what defense is, right? But defense is when you're using, watch this, listen now, technical and tactical strategies to avoid being hit. Y'all heard that, right? When you're using technical and tactical, did y'all hear that? Avoidances, basically. And there's several techniques you can use to show good defense. You know, we can slip punches, bob and weave, parry, like a lot of fighters like to parry the jab, block punches, right? Slip, well, I said slip already. Roll punches, right? Then throw the hook behind the roll after you roll. Usually, I'm a southpaw, so I love rolling. I love when I throw that 1-2 and I step to the side and then I roll and I come right back upstairs with that right hook. Bow! It's one of my favorite punches. So we know what defense is, right? What is hard and clean punches? Because it can look like a fighter is getting jabbed just because their head snapped back. But many times their head might not snap back because a clean punch was landed. You ever heard of the term or technique pull counter? Muhammad Ali mastered it. One fighter throws a straight punch. Guess what happens? It might look like the punch land, right? Because the fighter, the opponent who has good defense, pull their head back at the last minute, right at the end of the punch, without getting hit. And then they come back with the counter, which we call it a punch, right? Floyd Mayweather mastered it very, very well. So it might seem like a punch is being landed, but that's not necessarily the case unless those punches are not blocked or slipped or parried. It's when that shot is landed clean in the scoring zone. I gotta say in the scoring zone. So if somebody gets hit with a clean punch below the belt, that's not fair, right? That's not a part of the rules. If a fighter gets hit with a hard, clean punch to the back of the head, can't score that. Even if it was a clean, hard punch, can't score it because it wasn't landed in the scoring zone. The punch have to be landed clean in the scoring zone. And this is the judging criteria. Now, when I looked at the fight, In the rounds that I scored for Devin Haney, he met this judging criteria. The rounds that I scored for Lomochencko, he met this judging criteria. And so that's how I came to the conclusion that Devin Haney won. See, I want to educate y'all tonight. You might not hear this nowhere else now, but you're hearing it live with me, and I appreciate your support, viewership, and even your participation in the chat. Thank you so much. Now, I have those questions for people that thought that Lomachencko won. Link is still in the chat. In fact, it's pinned to the chat. And then I'm going to give a few things that I think that both fighters should do moving forward in their improvement and or adjustment. And then we're going to talk about Terence Crawford, Errol, Spence, because that's what we all have been hearing just within the last hour or two about these guys fighting on July 29th at T-Mobile Arena in a 2-fight deal that Terence bought Crawford allegedly signed with PBC. And then we're going to talk about the whole debacle and controversy that just started rebrewing between this whole ordeal of Jaron Boots Ennis ducking Terence Crawford because YSM Sports Media, he put out some good content with Bozie Ennis, who he interviewed, and Bozie gave the whole scoop on what happened when BLK Prime, including him mentioning Blue Blood Sports TV's name, he meaning Bozie, and how all of that materialized to them not fighting, but some people ran with the narrative that Boots Ennis was ducking Terence Crawford. So we're going to talk about all of that in just a few minutes. But before I do that, let me just say this. Feel free to support the channel. Every fiduciary contribution is used to enhance the visual and audio value, and also how much time it takes me to put certain things together and try to, basically enhance the channel so that you can have a great experience when you engage with the content. So I appreciate anyone that's going to support the platform tonight via Cash App and or Super Thanks and or Super Sticker and or Super Chat. Thank you all in advance. Now, before I even move forward, I wanted to show you all something that I screenshotted, and that basically is Max Kellerman's scorecard that he presented on ESPN Live during the fight. And I think this was from round 1 to round 8. If you look at your screen, we know that according to the judging criteria, now, I'm not talking about no eye test. I'm not talking about because you're a fan of Lomochencko. I'm not talking about because, everybody was hyped. I'm not talking about if you're a Devin Haney hater. I'm not talking about if you try to critique. I'm not talking about none of those elements involved. I'm just talking about from the judging criteria. Devin Haney won the middle rounds. We know this to be a fact. It's not an opine. It's not me opining. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. We know round 6, 7, and 8. You can make a case for 8. Lomochencko did a little all right towards the end. But overall now, Devin Haney won those middle rounds, according to the judging criteria. So I don't know what fight Max was watching, but this is his opinion. I'm not here to criticize. I'm just saying. Makes you wonder, because we know Max Kellerman is also employed by ESPN. So I'm just saying. Now for my questions for people who think that Lomochencko won. I have a few questions. Question number 1. In your opinion, what rounds did you think Lomochencko won? Thank you so much, Mr. Pragmatic. More support for the channel. Thank you so much, Mr. Prag, for your support and your contribution. Salute to you, my friend. Thank you so very, very much. So that's my question. And you can answer this in the chat. You can answer this in the comment section below in the replay. Fairly up to you. Let's engage. What rounds did you think Lomachencko won? What rounds do you think Loma won? Question number 2. What adjustments did Lomachencko make in this fight? See, you got to score this thing round by round now. That's what we do. I told y'all judges, as judges, what we do. This is what we do as judges. We don't score bouts. We score rounds, okay? What adjustments did Lomachencko win? I was just telling a friend of mine the other day, this is my philosophy. Yes, I did, Dahlia. I did rewatch the fight. Absolutely. And we're going to get to that, Dahlia. I know you talked about the flurries. We're going to get to that. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. This was not related to boxing at all. And this is my philosophy because I like to compare boxing and sports in general, but particularly boxing, because some of the things that I've learned in boxing translate into life. The person that makes the adjustment in life usually wins in life. The team that makes the adjustment after halftime wins the game. The fighter, the boxer that makes adjustment inside the ring wins the fight. So my question is, what adjustments did Lomachencko make in this fight? That's to anyone who thinks Lomachencko won. Okay. I also want to say this. Rounds in boxing, we know this already. And I'm not including women's boxing. I'm only including men's boxing because there were 2 men competing in the ring Saturday night. Rounds are 3-minute rounds. The duration of the rounds are 3 minutes. See the word? 3 minutes. Not 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Not 45 seconds. Not 30 seconds. Not 20 seconds. Not 20. No. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So, in essence, if a fighter is scoring based on the judging criteria for, let's say, 2 minutes and 15 seconds, you can do a 45-second flurry, but that doesn't necessarily mean just because that's the last piece of information, those last 45 seconds of flurrying, or as we call it in boxing, shoe shine, that the judges saw does not necessarily mean you're going to win that round as a fighter. Because fights are not scored based on flurries. It's scored based on the judging criteria for how many minutes? 3 minutes. Doesn't matter how many rounds it is. It could be 4 rounds, 6 rounds, 8 rounds, 10 rounds, 12 rounds. It's very, very important. Another question for anyone who thinks Lomachencko won. How much defense did Lomachencko show? If you had to rate it from like 1 to 10, 1 being the least amount of defense, 10 being extremely, extremely perfect defense, how much defense did Lomachencko use? Scale to 1 to 10. Somebody says 6. Okay. Another question. How many times did Lomachencko attack the body? Another question, since I saw somebody talk about this. Well, wait a minute. This is not a question. This is more of a statement. Let me make the statement now. I do have another question, though, but I'll make the statement. Lomachenko's footwork was not good. I'm just going to keep it 100 with y'all. It wasn't. Lomachenko's footwork was not effective at all. It just wasn't. The times he landed flush on Devin Haney, you know, when he did his 2-1 and then he really was cooking, his feet was in the right position. And that's how he was able to set up and land those punches. Don't forget Lomachenko is southpaw, right? And Devin Haney is orthodox. So let's put the framework together here. Lomachenko's right lead foot as a southpaw should have always been where? On the outside of Devin Haney's left lead foot. We didn't see too much of that on Saturday night. What we did see, though, was that Devin Haney was winning the foot battle. He was. His feet was in proper position majority of the fight. And that's how he was able then dig to the body, even go to the hook as Loma was trying to use angles, and he was effective with that jab. My point is, though, he was able to set those punches up and land them flush and clean, like we talked about the judging scoring criteria, because his feet was in the proper position. And if Rachel Donier is watching this live, she will agree with me that one of the things, and I've said this live months ago, one of the things I look at in fights, one of the first things I look at in fights, whether I'm there live, in person, or just watching it on TV or whatever, is the fighter's feet. I always do that first. I don't do that when I'm judging because it's unnecessary. But as a fan, I look at the fighter's feet. Why? Because everything that happens with punches start with the footwork. Lomochencko was out of position to counter and throw effective punches that he didn't land. I'm not talking about the straight lefts that he was landing. The punches that he should have landed, that he didn't land, is because his footwork was not effective. And that's why he was losing the fight as well. So I just wanted to put that out there. Question: did Lomachenko ever control the pace of the fight? Yes, he was aggressive. Remember, we talked about effective aggression, right? We talked about ring generalship, controlling the pace, right? Did Lomachenko ever control the pace of the action? I'm not talking about the decisive rounds that he won, round 10, round 11. The other rounds. Okay. Another question. When Lomachenko hurt Devin in round 10 and round 11, how did Devin Haney respond in the 12th round? And how did Lomachenko respond in the 12th round? I'll tell you. I'll give you this answer. Lomachenko took his foot off the gas in the 12th round. So even if you had it a draw, it was possible Loma could have officially won if you had it a draw, right? If you thought Loma won and you also said it could have went either way or it could have been a draw. If Lomachenko would have won the 12th round without taking his foot off the gas, bam, guess what? He probably would have won the fight. But according to the judges and their scorecards, not the 116, 112, the 115, 113, that could have landed this fight in a draw by 2 of the 3 judges. Would have been a majority draw. And guess what would have happened? Hopefully a rematch. But that's not what happened. Because Devin Haney responded in the 12th round. And y'all seen how he responded. He was the one that got hurt in the 10th round. He was the one that got hurt in the 11th round. But in the 12th round, that young lion finished strong. And Lomochencko did not. Lomochencko lost the 12th round, and we all can agree to that. And regardless of who we thought won or not, we all can agree that Lomochencko did not finish strong. Close fight, but he didn't finish strong. And with that being said, that segued me into this. Lomochencko needs to learn, and I'm not saying that he didn't do it in the past or that he don't do it, but he needs to learn how to change his levels as the fight progresses when he's in there with a fighter who is not allowing him to dictate the pace. Lomochencko stayed at the same pace from round 1 to 12. He tried to pick up the pace a little bit in the later rounds, but at the same time, right, he didn't change his levels. He never changed his levels. If you are in boxing, when I say in boxing, I mean as a boxer, as a fighter, as a trainer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. As an amateur, pro, whatever, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say change levels. Lomochencko never changed levels. He didn't. And Lomochencko didn't finish strong. These are two facts that possibly caused him to fight. Let me tell you some issues that I had with Devin Haney when I talk about his team. To me, this is just my pet peeve. Too many voices in the corner. All respect to Yoel Judah and the great trainer that he has been for all of his sons. And I think he was doing mixed martial arts too and boxing. Salute to him. But when a fighter's in a corner during the rest period, it is a pet peeve of mine when I hear too many voices in that corner. You got the chief second, which is the head trainer there. Then you got the assistant. I don't want to hear the fighter being confused. I don't want to hear the fighter being confused. Why? Because there's two different voices in his ear. Or three different voices in her ear. This is not just for men now. But I'm just using this as an example in a reference to what I observed on Saturday night. Bill Haney was talking to Devin, but then Yoel Judah was talking too at the same time. So I would wish they tighten that up in the corner. There's times where as a licensed manager in certain states that I'm licensed in, right, where I'm representing a fighter, and the commission allow me, based on the rules of the athletic commission, allow me to be in the corner as a cornerman for certain fighters. And there was a time or two where I had to turn to the trainers. One voice. Head trainer. Speak on it. One voice. The fighter don't need to hear 3, 4 voices, 2 voices. And then listen, one voice. We don't want the fighter to be confused because why? The trainer's job is to provide motivation, number 1, and instruction, number 2. I would like for Team Haney in the corner to tighten that up. And also, something that Devin needs to improve on is he needs to move his head more. You throw that jab, right? Move your head. His head kept being on that line. He kept his head on that line the whole fight, from what I saw. And that's how he was getting caught. Once Lomochencko set his foot properly, which is the right foot, because I'm a southpaw, over the left foot of Devin Haney's lead foot, guess what that put the orthodox fighter in line to when he's throwing a jab or when she's throwing a jab, and that orthodox fighter's not moving his head or her head. One of my favorite punches. Straight left hand coming right there because you on the line. Straight left hand. And that's the punch that Loma was landing effectively. The straight left hand. Because Devin Haney kept his head on the line. Gotta move that. Your head off that line, man. So I just wanted to set all of that up as the foundation because once again, how I scored the fight wasn't based on anything else except for what you see on your screen, judging criteria. We've had people and heard people use the race car after this fight was over. Using the race car. I want to speak to that. Let me show my face with this. Hold on. Let me get this off the screen. I got to show my face on this. Speak on this. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this real clear. And I say this all the time. And I'm going to say it here because it applies. And it's going to apply in this country. But more importantly, it's going to apply to the sport of boxing. Because I've heard content creators, not all of them, just a few. I've heard other people use the race car. I'm not just talking about Paulie Malignaggi now. He ain't the only one that used it. Some other people used it too. We're not going to rehash what was said. But I'm going to say this right now. There's only two colors that matter in this country. Y'all ready for this? There's only two colors that matter in this country. The color red and the color green. I actually shared this publicly. What was that? Was that last year? Yep. Last year when I was doing I presented a financial literacy webinar. It's only two. It's only two colors that matter. It's only two. Want to hear it? When I say colors, I'm not talking about race. When I say color, I'm not talking about the color of your skin. Y'all want to hear the colors? Red and green. Those are the only two colors that matter in this country. So there is no place to use the race card in this type of environment when we talk about Lomochencko and when we talk about Devin Haney. It don't matter what color Devin Haney is. It don't matter what color Lomochencko is. It don't matter what racial background or ethnic group they represent. It doesn't matter. That's why we do our Town Watch check-ins over here. Why? Because even though we may be different races, different ethnic groups, different creed, different religion, different walk of life, different geographical locations, we all share one thing in common. And that is the love of the sport of boxing. So keep it that way. Keep it as the love of the sport of boxing. I encourage you, keep it that way. Keep it that way. There is no place for using the race card when something happens in boxing. That annoys me a lot. It annoys me actually a lot. The only two colors that matter in this, I can't speak for no other country, but for this country here in the United States of America, there's only two colors that matter, red and green. Has nothing to do with your race. Red represent what? Stop. Denied. No. Let me say that again. Red represents stop, denied, and no. But green. Oh, but green. We know what green represents, don't we? Green represents go. Just look outside look outside when you go in your car and you drive up the road or up the street. You're gonna see some kind of red or green light, right? Traffic, right? Oh, okay. Green means go. Green means approved, and green means yes. Yes. They're the only two colors that matter in this country, red and green. And watch this. When you have a certain foundation, now I'm talking finances. Now I'm talking financial literacy. Now I'm talking credit. Now I'm talking understanding of taxes. Now I'm talking business ownership. Now I'm talking velocity banking. The 5 systems of wealth. When you have a foundation of that, that's what I'm talking about when I say red or green. There is no place for anyone to use the race card in the sport of boxing. It don't matter where you're from, red or green. Okay? I just wanted to say that. BVO is back. BVO, hold on 1 second. I just brought you on. Hold on 1 second. I just wanted all of us to be on the same page here before I have BVO give, your perspective. It's all about the green in this country. And in the sport of boxing, it's all about the green. Don't ever get that twisted. Don't go for the hype. I'm keeping it all the way 100 now. If the shoe fit, take it off and find a bigger size. If this applies to somebody who's guilty of this. Okay? In boxing, because boxing break all racial barriers. The sport of boxing does that. Just wanted to point that out, if I may. So when we keep hearing things of black versus white, this color versus, it's not important. It's what's going to drive in the green. It's about what's going to affect the bottom line. It's about, if I invest my green, am I going to get a return on my green that I invested? That's what this thing is about. And if I'm not, then I'm going to end up in the red. We're talking about balance sheets here. So that's what this thing is about. So it doesn't mean just because you are of one ethnic group that you have the right to criticize another ethnic group or race because your ethnic group or race dominates the sport of boxing. It's not right. And on the other side of that coin, just because you are of a different race or ethnic group, and you might have more financial resources than the participants of the other group that dominates the sport of boxing, don't mean that you can lure your resources over someone else either. It's not right. See, we got to speak on it from both ends. So I just wanted to say that because we're at a climate now in this country where certain things you can't say. And listen, you already know how I am. I speak it from the hip. I'm gonna keep it all the way 100 with no bias. I got to present godly principles everywhere I go, and on this channel I won't stop it. But I've heard some content creators. I've heard people say, "Oh, because Lomochencko was robbed, it was because he was this, and because Devin Haney was that." And all, if you think that Lomochencko lost, then you ain't who you supposed to be. Oh, if you think Lomochencko lost, then that's because you hate this type of race. There is no place in boxing for that. None. Oh man, Devin Haney really won But the reason why people won't give Haney no credit is because he black. Stop it. Boxing don't need none of that. It's about red and green. That's it. And you ain't got to take my word for it. You ain't got to take you ain't got to take my word for it. Just ask any professional fighter, what color are they fighting for? Yeah, that's all you got to ask them. You a professional boxer? Okay, when you get in that ring, what color you fighting for? They ain't going to say white. They ain't going to say black. They're not going to say purple. They ain't going to say red. They ain't going to say tan. They ain't going to say none of them colors. Only color they going to say is green. So let's keep it there. I've said my little piece. BBO, boxing. What's going on, champ?
What's going on, man? What you're speaking about is a very true thing. My aunt, God rest her soul, she say dollars bring dignity.
Say
But
that
you know
again.
what?
I'm sorry,
Dollars,
I couldn't hear you.
she used to say dollars bring dignity. So when you have dollars, it brings dignity. But we got to be honest, the American way, matter of fact, boxing has always benefited from race. Whether you're talking about Sugar Ray Robinson fighting Jack LaMotta, Jack Dempsey having been weighed 3 times before the weigh-in. I mean, I think what happens is, unfortunately, man, tribalism sells. So we all know, maybe me and you don't look at it that way, but that's what always has sold. It's everything versus the black guy, everything versus the white guy. But when it came to that fight, at the end of the day, we don't see enough 50-50 fights. So when we seen one, we didn't know how to react. And I'll be honest, when I seen it the first time, I didn't know how to react either because I thought Loma might have won, but then when I watched it again, I said, oh, yeah, Devin did win. And it's just one of them things where we need more fights like this. It's great for the sport. Um, there was a time, man, I know you remember, where there wasn't enough, Caucasian fighters. So then we start hearing about Eastern European fighters like your Triple G's, your you start hearing about people like even Lomochencko is a great example of that. So I mean, we can't say race doesn't matter because it does in boxing, because like in any sport, it matters. Anything that you're selling, for some reason, race is always number one. But I think it's a fair shot of what you're trying to do, of trying to not let that be the only thing being said. But that being said, man, we really had we've had one of the best years of boxing I can ever remember. So it's nothing but a celebration for the sport, celebration for the fans, because as boxing fans, let's be honest, everybody in this room is an extreme hardcore boxing fan. So, we can't turn on ESPN to get an update. We can't go to anywhere and get a real update. So that's why they come to people like me and other channels, like you and me and other channels, because they want to get understanding of what's going on in boxing. I think what you do is a great thing of showing the business side of things and showing that, hey, it is very true. Some people fight for the money, but let's not mistake it. Some people do fight for legacy. Um, there's been numerous fighters where Muhammad Ali is a great example of that. A lot of fights that Muhammad took was to help other fighters. People don't know that. Um, People don't know when he fought Ken Norton. Ken Norton was living with his father, and he knew, and Ali knew, hey, if I fight Ken Norton's gonna be able to take care of his family. So that's one of the beautiful things about boxing. I don't necessarily focus on the money. I know it's a thing to understand, because the main thing I want everybody to understand is you go broke paying taxes. You don't go broke making money. You go broke paying taxes. So that's if I can tell anybody one thing, you go broke paying taxes. So always make sure that you're paying the taxes, because it means nothing if you make the money, you don't pay the taxes, man. But all in all, man, I feel like boxing is one. That was just a terrific showing. Devin Haney was terrific. He's just one of those guys, man. Let's be honest, he's not very likable, and that's going to be his MO. And I think he should embrace it. I think he should embrace it. I think he should go out there and really be the bad guy. And let's be honest, his religion has a lot to do with it too. They don't like hearing this guy give praises to Allah on camera like that. They don't. When did you ever see Muhammad Ali do that? He never did that. So that being said, he's gonna always have that stigma against him. But the good thing is, like, people like me and you and the fans in the chat, man, we just gonna enjoy some good boxing, man, and go from there, man. But what you're saying makes a lot of sense, my brother.
Yeah, let me clarify a few things. Number one,
Mm-hmm.
let me say this, and this is for anybody listening. When I
Mm-hmm.
say color don't matter, Let's be clear on this. It's not about color, it's about culture. Now I gotta take my glasses off for this because I know this is gonna hit home for Americans. Because I have people from the Philippines, from Ukraine, from London, according to my analytics, that watch this channel. So I'm not including the other countries. I'm just talking about America. When we talk about not color and we talk about culture, right? In American culture, as a whole, Americans do not support their own fighters. True or false?
That's true.
That's correct. If you look at how other countries treat their boxers from their country, it don't matter if their boxers got 5 wins and 20 losses. They are going to support that fighter. They're gonna go fly out, even though the fighter that's 5 wins and 20 losses is going to be just an opponent. They're gonna fly all the way out to the country that particularly America, where that fighters might be fighting at, and they're gonna show up in numbers. They're gonna buy the tickets, they're gonna buy the plane tickets, they're gonna support, they're gonna be clapping in the stands. You're gonna hear them saying their country songs. They support their journeyman. But here in America, we do not support our own when it comes to Americans. That's true. So I'm talking more about culture than color. And so with that being said, if that's the case, then Americans need to start supporting American fighters in the States, here in America. Not saying that we don't support when they go out the country, but because we already know that, the American fighter is going into the lion's den, just like the foreigners coming here to our country in the lion's den. But American fighters, I'm talking about culture now, the American culture, do not support American boxers. Now, let me take it another step further. The American networks don't promote the American fighters. The best content you will see on the sport of boxing is on YouTube. Not ESPN, not on Showtime unless a fight's happening. HBO is no longer here. Fights happening. But if not one fight is being announced or happening, nobody's going to do no every day about boxing like they do other sports here in America. I'm comparing it to other sports here in America. So that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about from a culture standpoint more so than a color standpoint. And so when we look at culture, sometimes it's easy to wrap color and race into culture because it's convenient and we go by what we've heard and different things of that nature. But when I talk about culture here in America, Americans as a whole do not support other American fighters. That's facts. So when we look at the climate of race relations, that's something totally separate. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is if you look at Devin Haney versus Lomochencko, they were fighting in Vegas, right?
Correct.
When you heard the crowd, who were they screaming for? Lomochencko or Devin Haney?
Definitely Lomochencko.
Don't Devin Haney live in Las Vegas?
I think so.
Right. So my point is, how can a journeyman's fan base overcrowd, overcheer, and overshadow the American fighter who was fighting at home? Because of American culture. In other words, the sport of boxing is really on a lower tolling pole when we talk about American sports, baseball, basketball, football, even hockey. Boxing is like you talk about golf, tennis, but boxing, we don't get a lot of national network coverage unless like a big fight, like when a big fight's happening, ESPN might have a small little segment on it. They'll throw Max Kellerman on his show to say, but that's not an everyday. Listen, you got different platforms that's talking about sports every single day. ESPN got like what, 5, 6, 7, 8 different shows talking about the same topics when it comes to other sports. But in boxing, there is none. YouTube is where the sport of boxing is at. and we got to keep it all the way 100. You don't even have to be qualified to get your own channel. At least when you go work for ESPN as a journalist or reporter or something like that, most of them have degrees, whether bachelor, you know what I mean, master's degrees and whatnot, PhD. Some of them, they go to school for get degreed up in communications and journalism and all that. On YouTube, man, you can just pick your phone up and get a channel, and try to hope you get a following and get monetized. Talking about boxing, not saying the information and content is accurate or good or prudent, but the bottom line is YouTube is where boxing is. So I encourage Americans as a whole, let us start supporting our American boxers. There's no way that when we look at certain pay-per-view numbers, if an American fighter don't fight a journeyman or a journeywoman, pay-per-view numbers are going to be down. That's facts. In a sport that's mostly dominated by blacks. And we got to call a spade now. So that's all I'm saying. If we're going to complain about it, we got to say, listen, we got to support our own. I'm not talking about race and color. I'm talking about culture, American culture. Because look at it like this. And I said this last week and the week before that, and I'm going to say it again now, BBO. Devin Haney, Terence Crawford, Adrian Broner, and Tank Davis, all four of those fighters have the same thing in common. They all have made a legacy, and they all have made and it's not their fault. This is management, promotion. This is how business works. They have all made a living off of generating more revenue fighting someone who is not black and or African American. Look at their resume. Speaks for what I'm saying is factual. But my point is, if you put those four fighters in with an American fighter, particularly an African or American or black fighter, they will not generate the money that they would make fighting a foreigner. I remember in a documentary, what's my guy name? One of my favorite heavyweights of all time. He's from Pennsylvania, Eastern PA. Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes in the interview said, this is when he was actively fighting. He was on his way fighting Jerry Cooney. That's his name, right? Yeah, Jerry Cooney. And he said, I could have fought 4 black fighters and still not made the amount of money I'm going to make fighting one white fighter in Jerry Cooney. I'm talking about culture here. So that's all I'm talking about is Americans, we got to support American fighters. I don't care if they lose, they get knocked out. We have to motivate our American fighters. We have to be more of a committed fan base. Here in American culture, if a fighter's undefeated and they lose one time, guess what the American culture says? Oh, that fighter need to get in the back of the line. On to the next one. What have you done for me lately? It shouldn't be like that. Other countries are not like that. Other cultures are not like that. They support theirs. And so we have to do the same thing if we're going to equally complain about other cultures and other races and all this. We got to be able to do our part as Americans. So that's all I was, speaking on. People were talking about the Spence thing. Let's just jump on it. I got BVO here. I might as well, since we are on time constraints here. Let's talk about it now. We might as well get all out the way. We talked about Devin Haney. We talked about Lomochencko. We talked about all the stuff we need to talk about. We talked about the judging criteria. We talked about all those different things. Now we got to talk about, I don't know if you heard about this, BBO. Terence Crawford, according to sources, have signed a 2-fight deal with PBC, and he will be fighting Errol Spence Jr. in one of those 2-fight deals on July 29th, 2023 T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Don't know if it's true or not, but multiple sources have come out, and that's what they're saying. What's your take on all that, BBO?
My take on that, that's good news for boxing, but I think one thing you said I gotta respond to that is true. When you're talking about American culture, you're talking about individualism. That's something that's celebrated here. When you go to other countries, I'm sure you done took a trip or two. You understand that it's about the community and the overall greater good, and that's one of the things that we don't have here. But that's a bigger issue that I think that's gonna always be constant when you have people, always pushing for the individual. It's always about you. But I will say this: when it comes to the Errol Spence Terence Crawford fight, I think it's a terrific fight. Only thing I will say is that um, it's about time. I feel like it's a little bit late. I'm anxious to see what happens. I'm just hoping that both guys can resemble the guys that we get in the ring, because they are a lot older than we initially wanted this fight. This fight should have been made about 3 years ago. If we do get it, this would be huge for boxing. This would be the biggest year of boxing that we had in a long, long time. So I'm excited about it, man. What you think?
Well, I mean, I think I've been clear on my stance, and I'm going to stand on everything that I said before. Even if this fight is announced by PBC, because it hasn't been announced yet by PBC. It hasn't been announced yet by Kelly Swanson, who owns Swanson Communications. You've heard me say that time and time again on this channel. And she's usually hired by PBC for public relations reasons, press conferences, press releases, etc. I haven't heard anything from Kelly Swanson's office. Haven't heard anything from Spence himself directly saying, I'm fighting Crawford on July 29th. I haven't heard Crawford say anything towards Spence saying, I'm going to fight Spence on July 29th. Needless to say, to me, I'm going to speak on it the same way I've been speaking on it all this time. And that is very simple. I'm not going to believe that this fight is going to happen between Crawford and Spence until after both fighters step off of the scale on Friday night, the night before the fight. They can have a press conference right now. I'm still not going to believe it's going to happen. I'm going to wait until both fighters step off of the scale on Friday night, the night before the actual fight. Hey, I might even go to the fight. I don't know, depending on the ticket prices. But I don't care who announced it. I want to make sure that both of these guys step on that scale, make weight, step off the scale. Then I'll believe, oh wow, it's actually going to happen. Until then, I'm not going to say it's going to happen till that happens first. That's just me. I gotta see both of these fighters fight in the ring. But before I believe that's going to happen, I need to see them step off that scale. I've been saying that since day one, and I'm not going to change it now. I actually hope that they fight, though. I'm not even saying I don't want them to fight. I'm definitely not saying, hey, I don't want these guys. No. I want Terence Crawford and Errol Spence to fight. I think it's going to be a good fight. I really do. And to your point, BBO, this has been a great year of boxing, even if they don't fight. I would like for them to fight, but even if they don't fight, think about it. We had Tank Davis. He fought twice in 90 days. He gave everybody something to look at. Hector Garcia was in January. Then he fought, excuse me, then he fought a couple months ago. He fought Ryan Garcia. We had Tim Tszyu fight Tony Harrison. We had before Tank fought Ryan Garcia, we had Caleb Plant fight David Benavidez. You know what I mean? Those are two fights back to back right there, that March and April. That was like, oh, we had Benavidez against Caleb Plant in March. And then in April, we had Tank against Ryan. Whew. Maybe we're going to fall back a little bit because, I don't know if you watched Canelo versus Ryder. Didn't he fight that guy? He fought Ryder, right? Did Canelo fight
You
yet?
ain't watch. Come on, Marty. Come on. You ain't
Oh,
watched
he
that
fought
fight,
already?
man.
I thought he fought the first week on Cinco de Mayo. He fought?
Come on, man. You ain't watched the Canelo fight. Come
I ain't
on.
watched that joint. I
Stop it.
like Canelo, but I ain't
Stop it,
watched that
man.
joint. I'm
Come
gonna keep
on.
it. You know, I ain't gonna lie to nobody. You know, I'm always keeping it 100. I ain't watching. Not
Hey,
at
you
all.
rough, man. You a rough
Huh?
guy, man. You rough, man. You rough.
No,
You
no.
actually.
It's just that this is my thing. You want me to pay $100, $80 for a fight that I know who's gonna win? Clearly, not even like it's gonna be close. I clearly know who's gonna win it. I don't like making those type of investments where I know I'm gonna lose my money. That's one of the reasons why I don't gamble. I'm not a, I got to control my investment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just me. Salute to Clifford Henry. Thank you for the contribution and support to the channel. Thank you so much, Clifford Henry. Appreciate you as always. Clifford Henry has always been a day one supporter of this channel, and he's always made contributions to support this channel. So thank you, Cliff. Really, really appreciate you. Yeah, man. So I didn't see the Canelo joint, but we got, that's right. Thank you, Mr. Bragg. We had Fundora against Mendoza, where we expected Fundora to come out with the victory, and he got knocked out. You know what I mean? Man,
Yeah.
we've had a good year of boxing. Good year. So I hope that Crawford and Spence fight. Um, and what's next for Lomachenko, in your opinion?
I think Lomochencko probably should fight Shakur next. They should probably feed him to Shakur. See what happens with that. I'll just tell you what, man. I was just so disappointed in the fact that Devin Haney walked right past Sugar like that. I mean, Jesus, he could have grabbed his chains or something. He can't just walk past him and say, "I'm number one."
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Oh, and also, I don't know. Well, this Danny Garcia told me this himself months and months ago when me and him was talking. We was at the fight. I put him on camera, but we still was having a really extensive conversation. He was already telling me that they working on him and Erislandy Lara at a catchweight for the 154 title that Laura just won. So that's they gonna get it on.
I thought they was at 160.
No, they at 154, but I think they're gonna fight at a catchweight at 155. At least that's what Danny told me. Danny Garcia
Hmm.
told me to my face. So that that might be an all right fight too. I mean, boxing is here this year. This is probably, I have to agree with you, BBO. It's probably one of the best years of boxing I've seen in a long. I mean, like consistently, bang, 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 bang. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know the funny thing about it, man. People don't understand when Paramount bought Showtime, and Paramount is a part of CBS, and CBS don't have any sports. So for CBS to pour all that money into PBC, and let's be honest, man, we talking about Al Heyman. It's the same guy that did the Budweiser tour. I know you remember the Budweiser tour where you had Luther Vandross, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston. So why wouldn't you give that kind of money to a guy like old Al? Al's gonna always maximize that investment. So we getting some of the best boxing we can ask for. We getting we got the Ryan Garcia Tank fight. I mean, we getting the Errol versus Bud fight. And I think what you're saying, one thing also I think that happened is boxing's gotten bigger. So one of the things that has happened, back in the 80s, it was just America. Now you got guys like Vasiliy Lomochencko, you got Usyk. Those guys weren't even on the map back then. So that's why you notice now that these guys are so willing to take those European challenges because those guys are coming with a whole country. And here, unfortunately, we have a hard time coming together. And a good way to go about that. I don't know if you remember watching that Brian Castano versus Jamel Charlo press conference, the second one, when
Yes.
Jamel starts screaming USA, USA.
Yeah,
and
I've
and
seen that.
and and Brian Castano said, "No, this is not versus USA." But people got to embrace the country. It's not perfect. Stop thinking it is. There's nowhere on the planet that's perfect. But the one thing about America, it's the best thing going, and we got to just embrace it more. And we got to be more. We gotta know that we got a great country too, man. We can't just be saying always something bad about it as well either. It can't be just America this. No, man. America where you can actually get a chance to do something. I mean, I'm talking about Loma, man. Loma went to a war and all that crazy stuff that's going on. We hear every day, man, going to Starbucks, going shopping, having a good time. So we got to understand this is a great place, and we got to be more patriotic ourselves. You know, my wife will always pick with me about it because I understand that, hey, we got to put the USA up. That's one of the things I loved about Don King. It was always America's great. There's a chance for anybody to make it. We got to remember that that's a true statement.
That's very true. And let me say this because somebody in the chat also reminded me, and I didn't forget it. It's just Scooter's my guy from Philly. You know what I mean? So we still got Cool Boy Steph fighting a Nui. You know what I mean? That's coming up, I think, by the end of the summer.
Yeah, he
So
about to go to bed though. I can't wait.
no,
My
my man gonna beat Anui. He
Hey,
got something for him.
we'll talk behind the scenes. Maybe we can put a little turkey on that, man. In a way, it's gonna beat him to death. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah. Yeah, we gonna talk about it. And here's the thing, man. Like you said about the country, right? We live in one of the greatest countries, if not the greatest country in the world. We have more freedom and liberty than any other country in this world. And not only that, people that do talk bad about this country, they're still here. And so my thing is, you don't find too many people talking about, man, America's so bad. I was born and raised here. I was able to do this and do that. But you know what? Because of all of the negative that America have, I'm going to go live in India. I'm going to live in another country. I'm going to go live. You don't see that. But what you do see is other countries and other foreigners of those countries, they come here because this is the land of milk and honey. And we got to call a spade now. You know what I mean? But we got a good year of boxing. Don't know if this fight's going to happen between Spence and Crawford. We shall see. I'm going to segue to this being the last portion of the show, and that was the interview that YSM Sports Media did with Bozie Ennis, the father and head trainer of Jaron Ennis. Did you get an opportunity to see that interview that was published today by YSM Sports Media, BVO?
No, I didn't see the interview. I heard about it, but I didn't get a chance to catch it live. I think I watched it back on the playback. I didn't see it live.
Yeah, because people was just running with some, not all, but some people was running with the narrative that Boots, was ducking Crawford, and he avoided Crawford, and BLK Prime was involved, and because BLK Prime was involved, they try to make a deal with Mr. Bozie to get Boots to come over to BLK Prime so that he can fight Crawford and this and that. And Mr. Bozie did a great job dispelling so many different myths about it. And he actually put out, some more information that we didn't know about behind the scenes, when it came down to what happened. You know what I mean? Thank you so much, Diana, for your super sticker. Appreciate your contribution and your support to the channel. Thank you so much, Diana. Salute, Queen. Some of the things that we didn't know about, when we talk about what happened, how did the fight, come into fruition? Of course, people already know this, so I'm not rehashing it. But Blue Blood Sports TV, he wanted to take a lot of credit for getting Bozie on the phone. But the thing about it is, and I said this months ago, they should have called Boots when he was ranked number 2 in the WBO, when Terence Crawford was trying to fight David Evanesian, who was ranked number 6 at the time in the WBO before they fought. That was the time to call Bozie and see if they can put something together. You know why? Because they had Crawford signed. They had him signed. Before he fought David Evanesian, they had Crawford signed. BLK Prime did. But they didn't go after the WBO number 2 ranked fighter in Jaron Boots Ennis, right? They went to the number 6 WBO ranked fighter in David Evanesian. Even though Bozie Ennis was on record in the same month of October of 2022 saying, we want to fight a world champion now. We're going to go to IBF, right? The IBF route, we're going to petition the IBF. so that they can say, hey, and the president, Daryl Peoples, over there in New Jersey, we gonna petition them so we can fight Spence since we're ranked #1 in IBF. So that was the time. You know what I mean? That was the time right there for them, BLK Prime, when they had Crawford signed to see if they can get him to fight Boots. But instead, when BLK Prime didn't have Bud Crawford signed, they tried to pull Bozie Ennis and Boots away from Showtime. It's not good business ethics. Try to pull them away and have a secret dialogue, a secret conversation with Bozie and say, look, come over here. We can secure you to fight with Crawford if you fight on our platform. Mr. Bozie is one of the most stand-up guys in this business. He maintains a steady level of integrity. And I'm not just saying that because he's from my city of Philly. I'm saying that because I know Mr. Bozie. And he's always been like that. Honest guy. He keeps it all the way real. He shoots straight from the hip when it comes down to business, when it comes down to facts. You know what I mean? And he did the right thing. Because my thing is, why would y'all try to pull Boots and them off of their contractual agreement that they made with Showtime to come over on y'all small platform? Y'all don't even have Crawford signed. Crawford already told everybody he's doing a one-fight deal. So all of their eggs was put in one basket, and they had nothing to look forward to. I just said this before, and I'll say it again. The person that makes the adjustment in life usually wins in life. The fighter that usually makes the adjustment in the fight usually wins the fight. The business that makes adjustments in the corporation usually wins. In sports, the team that comes out of the halftime break and they make the adjustments, they usually win. And this is no different with promotion when it comes down to a platform like a BLK Prime. Make the proper adjustments, and then you'll win. But please don't keep pulling fighters off of obligations that they have with other promoters or other networks. They have a history of doing that at least 4 or 5 times. They tried it on Errol Spence. They tried it on Bozie. 2 times it didn't work. They tried on Ebenezer and it worked. They tried to wear Hank Lundy. Didn't work. That's facts. So try to wear Adrian Broner. So the business ethics got to be intact in order for them to maintain longevity in this business. Tanya Brewer, thank you for your support and your contribution to the channel. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Tanya says, thank you for educating regarding how rounds are scored. I think the more people learn, the more they will love and support the sport. Thank you so much, Tanya. I totally agree with your super chat. Thank you very, very much. So BVO, with that being said, let me get your take on what should Loma, you said Loma, what should Devin Haney do next now that he won?
I think Devin Haney really at this point should go up to 140 and challenge the Tio versus Josh Taylor winner. Because this would be an opportunity if we think about it, because it seems like it's very hard for the men to get more than one time undisputed. And I think there's a huge opportunity for him to go up to 140. At the end of the day, yeah, you want to see him fight Tank, but that's not going to happen because Tank wants a rehydration clause. Yeah, I would love to see him fight Sugar Shakur, but at the end of the day, man, I don't like Devin being that at that weight class, killing himself to make that weight. He says he can make it, but I think he should go up, use the WBO title to get the winner of Josh Taylor versus Teofimo, because really, I mean, this would be a great opportunity for him to be 2 times undisputed. He's young enough. I think he's strong enough, and I believe he's smart enough. And I'm hoping that Bill Haney lets Yoel Judah get in front of him more, because I like some of what I'm seeing with Yoel. Ever since they had Yoel Judah in the camp, I'm seeing some improvements with Devin. He still has that amateur style where he's still doing too much of that ping, ping, ping. But I'll say this: I think Yoel Judah has brought some grit to him. I think Yoel Judah has kind of showed him how to work on his footwork because people forget about how everybody remember how fast Super Judah's hands was, but they forget he had great feet. He had excellent feet. I really just hope that going forward we see more Yoel Judah in that corner and not as much Bill because I just think Bill's just very inexperienced. But it'll be great no matter what. And speaking of what you were saying about, bad business, it's the sport of boxing, man. We seen Bob Arum and the great Don King both use their sons to circumvent the Muhammad Ali Act. So dirty business is a part of it. I'm sure you've seen that, what they used to call it. I'm sure you've seen people cook the books, man. That's boxing. It's been that way forever. I never forget when I was reading this article about Sam Langford. You know that they had two contracts, the one that gave Sam Langford, and then the one that they gave that the promoter actually used because Sam Langford couldn't read. So, I mean, I bring up all that old stuff because those tricks are always going to be there. What's that? Remember Beverly Hills Cop? I ain't going for no banana in the tailpipe. So really, that's boxing, man. You're gonna always have the new up and comers try to compete because I don't think people understand. Al Heyman is the same guy that produced the concerts that Luther Vandross did. So this guy is a powerhouse. So it's hard to compete with him. You might be able to snag a fighter here and there. And from what I heard, Bozie Ennis could have made a lot of money if he wanted to stand up cat like that. He could have had some millions just off circumventing that deal. But him being a man of his word, he didn't do that. So, you gotta give that brother some love because honor is not always in the sport of boxing. I'm sure you see that all the time. I'm sure you gotta read and reread those contracts all the time because it's always what they say, the devil's in the details.
Yep. And that's why I always say good representation in this business is priceless. I'm gonna have to patent that for somebody still in. But that's true. Good representation in this business is priceless. We've been on for 2 hours and some change. Thank you for kicking it with me live in living color here on the Roll the Tape podcast with Manager Marty. We're going to break out. We will be back here live on Friday evening, live in living color right here on Friday evening. We're going to talk about Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. I know that there's going to be more details that's going to materialize in the next few days. So keep that on your calendar. Keep that in the forefront of your minds and your memory bank. We're gonna come back and revisit it. We're gonna talk about some more business of boxing. I hope you learned at least one thing about the sport and the business of boxing that you did not know before you encountered this podcast or this broadcast tonight. We have BVO Boxing LLC here. Please go and support BVO Boxing's channel. Please go subscribe to his channel, watch his content, and we're going to help him get monetized. So y'all go on and support him. Support Crown Jewel Boxing, his channel. Support YSM Sports Media, his channel. They both were on the panel earlier. We shall see. I know there's going to be so many different people talking about this whole situation between Spence and Crawford. BVO, I have given you my word that I'm going to come on your channel. So if my schedule permits it, I think you go on Thursday nights, right?
Yes.
All right. So Thursday night, I'm going to try to spin the block and come right back on to your channel because I want to be a man of my word. That's BVO Boxing right there. Y'all know who this is, Manager Marty. I'm not famous, but I got to say my name for those that are just, joining us for the first time. I appreciate everybody engaging in the chat. I appreciate everybody viewing. I look forward to having a more fire and more productive live this Friday evening. Come tune back in. I'm Manager Marty. Till next time. Good to see you again, BVO.
Good to see you. Oh, one thing before we get out of here. Crown Jewel, stop ducking me, man. I'm calling you out. Crown Jewel, stop ducking me. It's BBO Boxing. Peace.
I'm going to tell you what you said if he ain't watched the replay.
Hey, Telly, man, he been ducking me, man. I feel like he's Keith Thurman, man. He want the baby, man. He's scared to death.
He won't debate you.
I don't know why. Yeah, he want the baby, man.
I'm going to try to, hey, I'm a manager And you know that's my job to instigate and set up fights, brother. So I'll make sure I put that in his ear, and maybe we can put something together.
Sounds good. God bless, my brother.
My man, God bless you. Salute.